Welcome to the Wealth Stream Podcast. The team at Hightower Great Lakes share their insights and passions for empowering their clients to live their best life. In this energetic podcast, we will take you on a journey to help you navigate your financial future, overcome life's challenges to reach your financial goals, and find the financial clarity you've been searching for. Let's explore the downstream impact of your wealth and what it means to you, your family, and your community to live greater.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Stream with Tim Scannell from Hightower Great Lakes. Tim, how are you today?
You know, I'm doing well, getting ready for next week of the holidays. So jamming up a lot of meetings and meeting with a lot of clients. So I always enjoy that. So doing well. Thank you.
I know that year end for you, Tim, is extremely busy. You've got a lot of moving parts, lots of different things that you're doing for clients. What are we talking about today? I'm assuming it's not year end stuff because, you know, we're at the end of the year.
Yeah, no, today's it's not a normal topic for me. We usually talk about planning specifically related to people, individuals, families. But today I want to go over a kind of a strategy that I've seen and read about. A number of business owners that I have kind of implemented this, what I call basically turning a service into a product. I work with a lot of companies that provide services, and they've had to kind of pivot a little bit to, create these products as a result of the COVID and the social distancing and a lot of people aren't willing to go out as much anymore and they're shopping online. So I thought I'd talk about that today.
Okay. Interesting. This is different. This is something that we've never even touched on, I don't think.
No, it isn't. And it's really something that's come up this year. I think as we went through the pandemic in 2020, everyone was figuring out how to respond, and coming into 2021, hoping that, it would end quickly. But I think there's just a lot of permanent changes that are happening in the business world. And, I think for example, that the service providers, that I work with have been disproportionately impacted. And we talked a little bit about that in some of the previous podcasts by the economic, disruption, by the coronavirus pandemic. And because really consumers are cutting back on services to avoid human contact. We're just they're not going out as much. And in 2020 in particular, also to conserve cash, because a lot of people were struggling with that. And I think there's this mode of more people buying products to solve problems as opposed to services. And, you can use restaurants as an example. There's a lot of restaurants that really figured out how to deliver, or how to do pickup, or how to, kind of rebrand what they do, because they couldn't have full restaurants. People couldn't come in. And even still, I was in Chicago a couple weekends ago. I'm going in for a wedding this weekend. And, there's still a lot of limitations on the number of tables, et cetera. Another example is, Eric, I don't know if I ever told you, but my son is in Hollywood, and, he's an actor. And, one of the things he did when he went out to Hollywood out of college was he said, I'm going to learn stand-up. And he basically went to open mic nights for 2 years and got to a point where he was heading up like the Montreal Comedy Fest. But that all shut down, so, like his talent booking people, they've had to kind of pivot. So there's a lot of companies that have historically provided services, and now they're having to pivot. And what I'm finding is that it's not easy, as you can imagine. But I'll give you a really good example. And actually, Brendan, my son in LA, kind of told me about this one. There's this place called Gorilla Tacos, and it was a famous taco place in LA, I guess. But during COVID, they decided to create a product called the Emergency Taco Kit, And they called it kind of a takeout survival kit for the taco lover. And, so they immediately pivot where people were like, yeah, send me one of these taco kits. And, it kind of made it fun to cook, and they gave them all the ingredients and things like that. So just an example of, the problem that I think a lot of companies are facing, and then some of the creative solutions that I've seen.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, and there was another one I read about, and this is they basically had a car wash, and it was a mobile car wash service, and people just weren't calling them to come to their house and clean their cars anymore. So they created this product. They called it Disinfect and Protect. They labeled it, and they kind of sent it out with coupons. And as a result, they stayed in business. They kind of created a new product line, and also created kind of a recurring revenue stream, which has really made a difference. During COVID, but also coming out of COVID this year. And then I don't know if you've seen this, but I'll just give you one other example. I actually ran across this last year during the holidays when my kids were in town. And one of the things that they were doing was they were gifting each other these personalized messages from stars, right? So I'm pretty sure somebody like Brad Pitt's probably not doing it, but you can go online or go to these booking agencies and say, hey, I would like to have Bryan Cranston, who was with Breaking Bad. I'd like to have Bryan Cranston wish my husband, my wife, my spouse, my partner, my friend a happy birthday. And for $200 or whatever, you actually provide the details, and they create this, sometimes a song, sometimes just a message, but you get these personalized music messages that some of these actors and actresses and singers, it really kept them kind of in cash flow positive states. So that was just another example of some of the ways people have created products to stay alive.
Yeah, that's just I don't know. That's just such a strange example to me.
I know.
I did see that though. I saw that same thing, and I thought that was fantastic. And what a fun thing to receive. And I would love to think that there are stars out there that would do this. And I guess I'm throwing the gauntlet for all you Hollywood famous people, and you can have your son distribute this podcast. I would love to see you do this and do personalized messages, commit to a couple a week, whatever. And everything go to charity.
Yeah.
That's
I'm sure there are people doing that.
Yeah.
The first time I saw this, just to digress a little, the one that somebody had sent one to my son, and I forget the actor's name, but my God, he went on for like a half hour. They're like, really, you're killing me. It should just be it's like, oh, and I heard you do this and that. And I mean, it was just so funny. And he played it for all of us. It was just hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So basically I did a little research, I read some books about it, and I have found 8 things you can do to kind of create a product out of your service that hopefully can help you going forward as, consumers are buying more products. So you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So the number one thing that I saw, the step one, I should say, is what they call, so I don't know if it's niche or niche, right? It's potato or tomato, but you need to niche down or niche down. And what that means is just narrowing your focus to maybe a single type of customer as opposed to many customers. And a ton of business owners are not comfortable with this because, especially during pandemic or coming out of it, they're like, we need more customers, not fewer. But what happens is with services, like what we do is we provide a service, we customize it to every individual because every individual is different. But products, they really work better when they fit like one type of buyer. So picking a niche kind of helps you identify, how to, like the person you're going after. And you consider things like, demographics. So, are you creating a niche product for next generation or for retirees? That's going to be a really big difference. But typically a product doesn't serve both. Whereas like in our business as a service, we do. Another one is company size, or we call firmographics. But I have a client who kind of redirected a niche towards, in the cleaning business, childcare providers, because he saw that one of the side effects of the pandemic was childcare providers were having a much more difficult time, getting people to come to their facilities during COVID. And, so he kind of picked up on this product idea of making sure that, your place is clean and germ-free, et cetera. And that really helped from just focusing on one kind of niche like that. The other one I would say is you look at lifestyle or life stage. So Eric, you've talked to Samantha here in my office, and she's a phenomenal advisor. And one of the things that she focuses on, it's kind of her passion, is to help women, widows, post-divorce, helping women during that process. And so we're kind of putting together kind of a flat fee checkup, or it might even be like a subscription service to do a group webinar. But it's just a way to create a product or something that people would just, participate in and buy and purchase online. Not that we need to generate the revenue, but it's a way to maybe get and serve more people also. So life stage is a big thing. And then one of the things that we do with our business owner clients, just talking again about niches, we have something called a pre-score. It's a personal readiness to exit score, and it's a little 8-minute test that we have. And we've tried to start pushing that out to business owners who are looking at some point to exit. So it could be that they're, as a result of COVID, they've got burnout. Maybe they're just considering it now as they're reconsidering how the things work. But the reality is we're just, again, trying to create a little product or something like that that's not quite as customized, but it provides anybody, in a different stages of exiting, it gives them the ability to kind of give a score and to see if they're ready to go.
So here's what I like, Tim. I like that the things that you spoke about, and I think a lot of companies out there are seeing the writing on the wall, and they're providing a service, and maybe that's a subscription fee, which is fine, but they're providing something new, right? They're providing something that is going to bring value to the client. There are a lot of companies out there that are just starting subscription services for things that people kind of already use, or they're changing their model so that now it's a subscription just to generate more revenue without adding any value. And I think that I would say the majority of the population is probably pretty tired of companies trying to do that, right? Nickel and diming somebody for things that you already do. Like I just read an article yesterday that, and they'll remain unnamed, but there are multiple car companies that are now charging a subscription service for people to use the remote start on their key fob for their car. And you're like,
oh, wow. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And so it's I know that people just get frustrated with it. It's just another way to take money out of our account every month. So I love the fact that you're introducing new things that bring new value, where people can get education or just service for a small fee, I'm sure, and they actually gain something from it instead of having to pay for something they already use.
Exactly. These are all, the ones I've seen, the ones we've thought about, the ones I've seen my clients implement, they're all definitely value add. It's just you're presenting it in a different way because the consumers now are just purchasing goods and services a little differently. So, and I think it also helps business owners kind of force them to focus on what they do. And, that gets to step 2, which is, we ask clients to rank their services or, so when you go through the process of basically looking and seeing, what is it that we actually do and creating a list, we recommend people consider 3 things, and it's called TVR, we call it, but something that has to be teachable to employees, because if it just relies on you can't really sell a product and sell, offer it at scale, or, and be able to push it out there and be able to support it. Mm-hmm. But it also has to be valuable to the customers who have it. And it's best when it's something that is a recurring need for the customers. So for example, my heating and air conditioning company that I use in my house, what they've come up with, and they actually came up with this during the middle of COVID, was kind of a subscription service where, as opposed to me calling them, when my filters need cleaned or when the power goes out or when something's wrong, they've offered a subscription service that's reasonably priced, and they've got techs that can come out and implement. And I signed up immediately because I don't understand heating and air conditioning. I don't know how to identify when it's ready to go out. So I'd much rather have somebody come in and service it all the time, and I'm willing to pay for it. So that's just one example. But so they were able to teach their employees. It was certainly valuable for me, and I definitely have a recurring need for it. So just one example.
Absolutely.
And then the key there is you just need to spend the time to list all the services you offer, and then kind of score them, from 1 to 10, let's say, based on, that TVR ranking, and then just pick the ones that have the highest scores and then just test it, start out some sort of product like that. And that's what my HVAC company did too, which I loved.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, step 3 is, you've probably heard this before, but we call it just getting clear on your 1/4 inch hole. I actually learned this in business school, and I just found out that there was a Harvard professor named Theodore Levitt who apparently was the one who created that saying. But he always talked about, or the way I learned it was, people don't want to buy a 1/4 inch drill hole, drill. They want a 1/4 inch hole. When I'm going to Ace Hardware, I don't need the tool. I'm looking for the hole. And I think a lot of times people don't really, business owners don't focus on the client need, like getting back to that emergency taco kit. hey, it makes cooking at home fun during COVID, right? And they love their tacos. Now they don't have to go to their taco restaurant, and they're getting it, So I think you just need to be really clear about what problem you're solving.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm just going back to the taco kit. It's brilliant. It really is.
It is
brilliant.
a good idea, isn't it?
Number one, because I love tacos, but number two, I think about that, and it's something where, yes, they're having fun cooking at home. They don't have to leave their house, so on and so forth. But as things open up and as the business kind of quote unquote gets back to normal or as usual, as much as it can, there will be times when they don't have that kit at home. They want tacos. They're like, oh, let's just run out and grab them. Right? Because I don't want to take the time. Or maybe they know what to do to cook it, but they're like, I'm just tired. Let's just go there and get it. But it's on their mind. It's something that's in their home to remind them of their favorite taco place. I mean, God, I love that.
Yeah. Or think about that mobile car wash that came up with the disinfect and protect, and there were so many essential service providers, nurses, doctors, et cetera, that had to go to work and keep driving. So they marketed this kit to keep their cars clean, and it was a big hit, because generally people weren't ready to figure out what do I need to keep my car or my house clean. And now, of course, a year and a half into it, you see everyone has all kinds of stuff in their car to sanitize, or you get on an airplane and everyone's sanitizing. But at the time, they came up with a great solution, and they focused directly on the people who they thought would need it.
And think about how humans operate. The people that have ordered those kits, they're not going to clean their own cars forever. They're going to go right back to that company to have them, give their car, a once over or whatever. They're not losing business because of this. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but I can't believe they'd be losing business because of it. They're endearing themselves to their customers by providing more.
For sure. No, absolutely. And that gets to step 4, which is brand it. So if you think about like the emergency taco kit, or I use, when you get a service or when you purchase a service, like going back to my electrician, for example, it's MB Electric, and MB stands for their names. Services typically have names. For years and years, we were Scannell Wealth Management. With the product, though, you're selling a thing that needs a brand. And, disinfect and protect, or the emergency taco kit, those are things that people see. Like my electrical contractor, he created something called Power Check, confidence to turn your lights on. And it's just, I looked at that and it caught my attention. I'm like, yeah, when I come into my house, especially, with COVID where I'm living there more than I was, I want those lights to go on. I want the power to go on. We even probably going to end up purchasing a backup generator just because we've had issues with that. And I was thinking, talk about some creative branding for my plumber. I'm not going to bring any ideas for that, but my point is you need to come up with a name for it.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Exactly. And then the other thing about it is, once you brand it, and this is something that my HVAC company did really well, is, you can think about it when you go purchase like a service. Like I said, we offer custom planning. So we have deliverables and we talk about process mostly. But when you purchase a product, you're at the grocery store, you're looking at the ingredients. You want to know, like, well, what does it include? If you get an email or a flyer, like what is listed on there? And so if you had, gone back to like step 2 where you list your services and you rank them and you kind of know what you're providing, the key is to really list out all the things, the ingredients of this product. So that's one thing my HVAC company did really well. They kind of had this comprehensive list of, spring cleaning, fall cleaning, all the things they do. And you look at it and you're like, whoa, that's a lot, So that's another key part of it is you need to, step 5, which is list your ingredients as a key step.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then the other one too, and you think about this when you go shopping, Eric, is you also have to figure out a way if you can, step 6 would be preempt some objections. So when I'm talking to somebody and providing a service and providing planning, we have conversations where we even try to draw out, like, what's your hesitation or objections, or, what are the things that make you nervous about this? So you get all that information firsthand, and you can literally, address it on the spot or tell them, well, let me get back to you and do some research and find out a solution. But when you're selling a product, you don't have the benefit of being with that person, being in the room. They're looking at your flyer, your marketing materials, et cetera. And you need to kind of do some work up in advance and say, well, what could be a possible objection? Think of the taco kit. You're like, really? Is it going to stay hot? Is it going to be safe? Or is it going to be healthy? Is there customization? So you got to walk through that process. And like I was reading about the disinfect and protect, which I really like the idea of how they did that. So they immediately were like, well, there's a money back guarantee for people who aren't sure. So they're thinking, some people are going to go, am I sure I'm going to need this? Should I pay for it now? And what if I don't need it? Insurance in case they damage the car, addressing a possible objection like, well, what if this, solution you gave me, stains the leather or something like that. So they kind of came up with a list, trained technicians, they're doing it environmentally friendly. That's a really big one that they focused a lot on, because some people were thinking that, well, I don't even know what the ingredients are in this disinfect and protect, and is it safe? And, if my kids are going to be in the car. So someone gets a flyer about this or gets your information, they might know you already because they've used your service, maybe not. But you want to try and make sure you preempt already, any objections you could be getting.
Yeah, no, that just makes sense.
And then the final piece is, obviously, you have to price it. It's obvious, when we were looking at doing a subscription service, and we haven't done this yet, but we're thinking about it with Samantha, or offering like a checkup, something like that. You really have to figure out what it's going to cost and make sure you're not. It's possible you could do it just as a service and lose money on it, but the thing about services in general, if you're looking at attorneys, accountants, other professionals, doctors, any service providers, even my electrician or my plumbing contractor, they typically do not publish a price on their website or even on their marketing materials, because they want to come out, they want to give you an estimate, they want to provide a custom proposal. With products, though, that you really have to put the price on there, because that's what they're going to want to know what it costs. They're going to want to assess the benefits before they even reach out to talk to you. So
and they want to compare.
It's just a different mentality.
Yeah, they want to compare it with another product.
Yeah, so I'm sure you do the same thing. Like when you're shopping, you're like, what is this going to cost me? What are the ingredients? What kind of objections do I have to do it? And so you have to think about it. So it's a hard process, I guess, is my point. You can't just go out and create a product and not think about, the services you're offering.
Yeah. Yep.
So the final piece is that what I've read, and I saw this with the taco kit, but I've also read 2 articles that talked about it, is when you're marketing the product, you also need to manufacture scarcity. And what that means is that, like with the taco kit, they literally said that, we have the capacity to do so many a day. So if you want this, best that you do it by this hour, this time. And you always have to worry about when you're marketing. I'm not talking about trick marketing. I'm just saying that the reality is, if you're creating this product, and especially if you haven't scaled and hired the people to do it, you do have scarcity, and you don't want to just all of a sudden get 1,000 orders for the taco kit and realize you can only fill 50 or 100.
Yeah.
So literally, they were getting so many more requests for the taco kit that they had to say, we're only doing a certain amount a day. Please, don't get mad. Please respect where we're at. We're trying our best. But I think you have to really put that out there, because if you can't deliver, or for some reason you can't deliver the volume that shows up at your door, you're going to create more problems than solutions. So you got to think about scarcity.
Yeah. And I think, Tim, and maybe you can touch on this, is I think just general good communication is so important with businesses now, right? I think that too often we're so used to businesses that, especially larger businesses, that you can't reach somebody on a telephone. You've got to go through chat online, or you've got to email somebody. And there's so much frustration around communication that to be on the front end, right? Like you gave the example of the taco place. Be on that front end. Say, hey, this is limited. We're doing the best we can. We'll do our best to fill every order, but please understand, if you don't make it in by a certain deadline, you may not be able to receive this product. You're not tricking people. You're not, gotcha, or it's the takeaway kind of sale. It really is just open communication, being honest, right? And I think that's something that a lot of consumers feel is missing in some companies, is honesty and transparency. And so if a company does this up front, I personally find it incredibly refreshing. And then if I do miss the deadline, I'm calling in at 6:30 at night and they're like, I am so sorry, we sold out at 4:00. Oh, my bad. Totally me. I should have called earlier,
exactly.
right? Tomorrow, What time do you open? 9? I'll call at 9 because I really want those tacos. But it puts the onus on the client, really, in a way, and takes that pressure off the business. So I love that. That's just my thought on it.
Yeah, no, I think as I look back, and we've talked a little bit about this on other podcasts, service providers in particular, as a result of the pandemic, have been just walloped, and smaller businesses also. But it's really smaller companies, and in particular service providers, that have had a harder time kind of adapting. There's a restaurant near me, and it's an Italian restaurant. They make amazing sausage and peppers and mustacholi, and they basically they shut down the restaurant, and they went exclusively to catering, and they started marketing a holiday package. We just did it for our holiday event that we had with our family this past weekend, and you just pull up, pick it up, bring it home, and it's just amazing, and everything's there. So I really want to stress that any business can basically make this jump. And it's not like you have to make your whole business, this product jump. But I do think that as a result of the way consumers are changing their purchasing habits, where they're inherently and naturally more often going online, I just think it's better for all business owners, especially small service providers, to at least try to test out and make this leap. And in the long run, it'll sustain the business, but in the long run, it'll also increase the value of your business. So that's why we had the podcast today.
All right. Fantastic. Now, there may be some people that are just joining us, Tim, for the very first time, or maybe this is their second, third podcast. This is something that you do. I mean, you this is a kind of outside the box, outside the norm podcast, if you will. However, it really isn't outside the norm. You're constantly looking at what you can do to help improve your business owners' lives, your clients' lives, anything to help them out. I know you do a ton of research. You're an avid reader. You're kind of data driven in a way, and that's a very positive thing. I don't want you to think that that's a bad thing.
Sure,
but
thank you.
That being said, if people want to talk to you and kind of hear some of these ideas, number one, audience, you can go back and listen to a ton of podcasts because he's got a ton of them out there, and it's great information. However, if they just want to cut through the chase and say, hey, look, Tim's got some pretty good ideas, and I'd love to pick his brain, how can they reach you?
They can always send me an email at tscannell@hightoweradvisors.com or give me a call at 219-246-5370. And also go to our website. We have a lot of checklists, resources, articles, videos, and podcasts that can help.
Absolutely. Tim, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. And our last thank you goes to you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the WealthStream podcast with Tim Scannell. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Tim comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Hightower Great Lakes, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the WealthStream podcast. We hope you gained some valuable insight that you can apply to your life and share with others. Please don't forget to subscribe below to be notified when new episodes become available. And don't forget to live greater. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Hightower Great Lakes. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Hightower Great Lakes is a group of investment professionals registered with Hightower Securities LLC, member FINRA and SIPC, and with Hightower Advisors LLC, a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Securities are offered through Hightower Securities LLC LLC. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Advisors, LLC.